That's right. It's time to clock in once more. It's shift number 11, kicking off with the EU. ZP here with Jason and Uber. And gentlemen, we are here on the eve of Trolli EU this weekend, and the team's still a lot to play for here today.
I mean, I was mind-blown, ZP, just the level of participation we had in Trolli NA, and we know what Europe is like with Deadlock, right? Very distinct, unique region if you compare it with NA, very competitive, and I'm looking forward to seeing that level sign up, and this should be a great precursor. So if you're seeing the Trolli tournament coming up and you want to know what it's all about over in Europe, this is an amazing taste test for what's to come this weekend with that higher stakes level of competition.
And we had some great teams as well, like teams we didn't really expect to make it through, to be able to challenge the likes of our top dogs that we've had over in North America for such a long time. But to have 49 teams sign up as well, I thought NA was dead past like 3, 4, maybe 5 teams. But to have 49 sign up, that just shows Deadlock in North America is alive and well.
Well, it's not just in North America. It's also alive in EU, where you have 70 teams signed up for this weekend Trolli tournament.
Yo, what?
Talk about what is going on here tonight. We'll get more on the Trolli tournament later today, but the matchup here tonight is going to be a little bit familiar for those who've been following Night Shift in EU. Going to be kicking off with our challenger match. It's going to be Abrahams versus Lotos, two teams not a stranger at all here to the Night Shift. And the interesting thing for me, Mitch, as I look at the matchups coming up, is that the teams, they may be a little bit more experimental here tonight than the norm.
Yeah, I do think that we're like a couple weeks out from that patch that looked at Veil Walker and a couple of other things, right? And I'm kind of hoping we see some different prio on some of the heroes as opposed to in the past. And we know Lightbringer, we're going to see Buff and Joys a little bit later. He's always cooking something, so I'm curious to see how that pans out. And we know there's always a bit of a contrast between these two regions in terms of what the hero prio is, what the flavor of the month kind of is. And I've felt in the past, NA has kind of followed EU's lead. So curious to see if these guys are again going to be the progenitors of some new spice.
And not to mention, Uber's always been a fan of being experimental here. But consider we have $5,000 for first place on the line at the end of the weekend. Do you really want to throw everything you have that you might use later on in the week today? And I think that's something we might have to keep in mind. And some teams might keep some things reserved into themselves, considering, well, if you're Buff and Joys or for Abrahams, if you're Lotos, you're three of the biggest teams in EU. And a lot of teams are going to be looking and analyzing what you're doing.
True.
Of course, it's not just the gameplay here on the Night Shift. Don't forget, later tonight, for those who are our patrons or Twitch subscribers or YouTube members, we got the Graveyard Shift coming up. But head to head, we're going to look at that first and where we're at here. And yeah, Abrahams versus Lotos. It's been tough times for Lotos, even though some of these matches, Jason, have been a little bit closer than they might appear on paper.
Yeah, we can't, forget as well that Lotos was able to beat Abrahams back in core number 7, I believe it was, about a month ago now. They beat him at a best of 1, and then they got slaughtered in the best of 3 in the finals. And for honestly, for Lotos, I think this is a great opportunity for them to really get some experience here going into it. Because if I'm not mistaken, they're going to be the number 3 seed, right? So they will actually be put into a group with Abrahams, and Buff and Joys will go with the 4th invited team, which I believe is Melly team, if I'm saying the name correctly, the old one-win roster.
The
Mel team. There we go. Yeah. So this is a really good chance for them to get some experience in, considering there's a good chance they could meet in the winners match, and the winner of that goes directly into the playoffs.
Yeah, also, one thing here that I think is actually liable to change a lot today. You look back at last week, we had our hero pick priority, and there were some winners and losers. The biggest winner that we had, probably Victor, where Victor kind of came into his own, and that was even reflected in the Trolli NA tournament. But there's rumors that some of the pick priority has been shifting in EU over the last week. And Mitch, one of the things we heard our ears to the ground about scrim results is that the doorman apparently might be knocking a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this plays out, because obviously, and we were showing a doorman build as well before the show. I think it was Low Main's particular build, but not a lot of changes to doorman in the last patch, right? It's just some quality of life changes in terms of how the doorway is placed. So in theory, allowing it to be a little bit more intuitive, and you can place it on the fly in some of these fights. And I just think doorman is a fantastic conduit for like that level of skill expression and imagination that you don't always see in games like this. This was obviously our pick priority last week. You can see, like, obviously, Yamato, Kelvin, still very hotly contested. Victor as well, Infernus. Those are probably the 4 that I'm really going to have my eyes on.
I'm looking at this pick priority too, and I'm looking at, McGinnis 0. And then I remember, this doesn't include the Trolli event, because we did see McGinnis played once, which was awesome to see. But I think, as I mentioned during the Trolli event as well, that we had certain heroes massively skyrocket through the pick priority. A couple of them being Yamato, for instance. We saw her get a massive amount of play last week in the night shift and, of course, over the weekend. Infernus as well, which we've been hearing he's kind of been figured out now with the ideal build to run. And also, man, Calico, ZP, just shot up out of nowhere. I swear she was like 0 picked or like 1 pick for the last 2, 3, if not longer periods of time. And yet we see her at the very top.
Yeah, and I think Calico and Warden are actually two sides of the same coin in the sense that you had one hero that was just getting buffed and buffed patch after patch, a little buff here, a little buff there.
Yeah.
And eventually people realized, okay, Calico is just like past the precipice and is a really good hero. Conversely, Warden goes from like 1.6 spirit scaling in the last stand down to 1.3 over time.
Get him out of
a bunch
here.
of nerfs. And, over time, when you keep getting hit with these mini nerfs or mini buffs, it eventually hits a point where you're either going to be picked a lot or just not picked at all. And, the patch changes, they do matter, Jason.
ZP, I'm so happy too, because not only do I like seeing Warden get nerfed, but now I know your main hero got nerfed as well. So you've had to experiment with a couple of different things. I know you've been playing a lot of Holiday, to be fair. So could there be some Holiday nerfs coming back into the realm very soon?
This checks out. ZP was a Cassidy main in OW, so this is right up his alley, honestly. I'm not surprised
Bro,
at all.
I remember he played only Widowmaker and Genji in the very early stages, and Hex and I were like playing like 2v1s against him, and we got so angry that he only played those. I think it was only Widowmaker then at that time.
Bro was sweaty, man. That's how it goes.
He has his heroes he likes, and he sticks to them. I gotta respect it.
But I think like on the Calico note really quickly, just it's like quality of life changes, right? The leaping slash height is a pretty big difference maker. That extra distance you get with it, because obviously it procs all your melee effects. So like Spirit Snatch also getting changed in that patch, I feel like works really well. Return of Shadows having a wider range that obviously you can increase with itemization. I think that's like in lane, it's really hard to avoid that when they're like leaping slash in instantly ult. It's like as soon as you get that ultimate, that 4 online, you're like ready to fight. And if you are first, you have that brief power spike, like you almost get a kill.
Yeah, I mean, the key of Calico is that she's just breaching safe zones in a way that other heroes don't, is able to confirm kills that others can't with her mobility.
There's the reach.
Yeah. We're going to get into it, though. First team to look at here tonight, it's Abrahams versus Lotos. We got to talk about Abrahams. The storyline to me coming in here is that Abrahams, they've been second in EU for a while now, a little bit off the throne for longer than expected. But Jason, especially when it comes to the bigger tournaments in the EU, like the Trolli tournament coming up this weekend, it has always been Buff Enjoyers that have won it. And to me, the question is, can Abrahams be the team to finally take one of those big tournaments wins away from Buff Enjoyers? And do they start with that here tonight?
History proves they're not able to. Thinking back to the 1-win bombshell, it was always VP or Buff Enjoyers winning. I believe they won every single time. I have to like really jump back and jog my memory if they won the last time we've had one of those bombshells, but they've always been stumped by Buff Enjoyers. I hope for their sake they will be able to give a proper challenge to them when we do get to the Trolli event this weekend. I mean, but this team, if we're talking about like pick priority and heroes rising through the ranks, I mean, we know Jamside is a great Infernus, which is perfect considering he's insanely strong right now, together as well with Yamato, but also Shiv having a lot of high priority when it comes to North America. And then Paradox on top of that. I feel like most of these heroes, except that one I see with Saf, I don't know who that guy is anymore, have very high priority these days when it comes to Deadlock. So it kind of fits exactly with the way that they maybe want to play, which is a good sign for them going into the event.
It's been like 3 weeks since Abrahams have been able to take a map off Buff Enjoyers in our decider as well. So it's been a hot minute. They've had a couple of night shifts where like they've, been sort of rinsed out in straight games. So I think like, outside of this game, I'd like to see them, look to take a map off of, Buff Enjoyers, even if that means I have to dip because time constraints. But it'd be nice to see them step up. I think this is a really quality team. I'm always interested in what kind of hero Jamside is going to force into a gun build and find success with. So it's always like a fun mini game for me.
Let's moving right along, of course, into the opposition. Lotos, a team where I feel like they're just in between in a way. Like they've been the gatekeeper team of EU where they're good enough to give a fight to Abrahams or Buff Enjoyers in the challenging match. Very rarely do they put together a full game where they're actually able to take that team out. And yet when you look at the rest of EU, they're often over basically every other EU team when we've had, other EU teams against Lotos, whether it be here, just in the general community. Lotos is incredibly strong. So, Mitch, it's kind of interesting to see Lotos almost take the role of this gatekeeper team. And you kind of wonder, what's going to be needed to take the next step.
Yeah. Quickly as well, someone in the chat wants to know like how Intel are involved in this show. So I just want to point out that like the prize pool and the entire incentive for competing in the night shift is provided by our friends over at Intel. They are supporting weekly tournaments in Deadlock already. So if you're wondering what their involvement is, It's that they're keeping the lights on, guys. So please, join us in thanking them for, this infusion of life into the Deadlock community, this early stage, and hopefully it's something we can continue doing in the long term.
And to go on your notes, ZP, I'll pick it up with Lotos. One thing that they've lacked, and I said for many weeks now, is they don't have that kind of star player. And losing Sonya Sniper, which I believe he went to Meld Team, if I'm not mistaken, and bringing in Colt, yes. I don't know if Colt can be that person for their team to do that for them. I know they've had some good individual plays once in a while, but there's never been that player, at least in the matches we've seen here on the night shift, where there's that one player you can depend on to get that 50k farm and then carry the team. So that's one thing I still want to see with them adapt in the future. Maybe when we get into these best of threes, it'll be a little bit more fair to them, because we've only really seen them best of ones. They've never made it past Abrahams, as we saw the head-to-head before. So we've never really seen them have the opportunity to grow into a series. So I'm looking forward to see what they can do in Trolli and see what they can do here today.
Yeah, and again, for me, it's interesting because I feel like we've had multiple avenues in both NA and EU where you have teams basically go from, okay, we're getting good, to all of a sudden they get really good in their main team. Melee Creeps in NA, probably the best example of that, where they started as like kind of a third, fourth place team, made a few roster changes, and eventually, recently have kind of taken the crown and then some. But speaking of fights here at the night shift, we're about ready to get in the draft, but we can't quite do it without getting into our Mo and Crow 1v1 to decide which team is gonna have their choice of first or second pick. Mitch, the moles are ready.
We need a Samaji Baji. I'm so glad that our representative from Abraham's changed their name appropriately here, but that's fine. We at least have Pyro, of course, on the side of Lotos here, who's a little bit mistimed on that parry. This is gonna be a close one, guys. One of the closer Mo v Cruel 1v1s that we've seen.
I'm a little bit sad to see this mid pit without the sugary deliciousness in it, to be honest, after that whole weekend. But it looks like Abraham's will win. Go ahead, Mitch. Wait, what? Where are people coming from?
Whoa. I'm glad they cut the tape. That is ungentlemanly, to say the very least. Goodness me, guys. Save it for the real game, would you? My God.
I just didn't realize the underworld of Mo boxing just had that part there.
Dude,
where
it's like the Khabib versus Conor McGregor fight, right? Like Khabib, they all jumped into the ring and started fighting, bro. That's crazy. Come on, boys, keep it gentlemanly out there in the cursed apple. Thank you. My goodness.
Look like a little fight club down there.
We're getting into the draft here, Jason, and here's what I wonder. We've heard the rumors about first pick Doorman coming in, but in your mind, does that change the entire dynamic of first pick Kelvin, or is Kelvin, if you want to win the game, gonna be something you need to put into the freezer for your opponents?
I think you still have to just first ban Kelvin. Honestly, he's just too strong as is. I actually talked to like Saya and John after they won the Trolli event this last weekend. And they're talking about he needs to change. Like in his current state, he's just too effective. What he does is insane. His ultimate is ridiculous.
Lose lane. He can't lose lane. That's the thing. He just doesn't.
I mean, you say that, but I played Kelvin and I've lost lane before many times. But down in Initiate 1 is a different thing than competitive play. But I think Victor and Kelvin are pretty much just going to stay the top two bans for now. I don't think Doorman is. I don't know. I want to say he's not as impactful in a way that like a Victor could be, because when Victor gets out of hand, he really gets out of hand. If Doorman gets out of hand, he's still just kind of Doorman.
They're completely different. I mean, Doorman, obviously, his emphasis is on the utility that he brings, displacement, isolation, whereas Victor is like just amazing in the numbers sense, right? Like Pain Barrier getting charged up the way it does now, he does less damage to himself. Like he's hard to kill, and then you don't want to kill him, but then he just stacks all these area of effect items and stands in the middle of your team and kills you with Torment Pulse. So you've got to. It feels like it's a damned if you do and damned if you don't kind of scenario. So first pick Infernus here feels pretty safe. It's like, obviously we have a capacitor carrier. It's going to be important. And there it is. Doorman is locked in. Wow, we really foreshadowed this well, ZP. Nicely done.
Yeah, look, Scrim Intelligence, sometimes the Scrim Bucks pay off, and I think Doorman has just kind of hit this point here where the buffs to the door reliability have helped, but also there's new builds that you can use. Players have gotten a lot better at landing a cart and just gunning people down with a more gunman-oriented build. Yeah. And also, I think people just play around Doorman better, both around Urn and mid-boss. But Calico number 2, Jason, as I look at this is a little bit surprising, because I thought for sure if you're going to first pick Infernus, at a bare minimum, you're giving up a Paradox.
Dr. Miles, 5 gifted. Thank you.
Whoa. I'm so sorry. I have to jump in here and change the subject completely, because he said he would gift 5 subs if I did this, and I only did half of it so far, so...
Oh my God!
What in the world? You wanted me to twirl my mustache and do an evil laugh? And
I like Waluigi. Yeah, you make a great Waluigi.
we need Jason to get the mustache out even longer, and then we need to have Jason versus Josh in like some form of mustache-related contest. Like, who can be the better Dr. Eggman?
He has the VCT makeup artist
one, right?
like styling it for him. It's crazy, bro. He needs extra time in the chair. It's
and my wife asked me today, she's like, when Halloween's done, you're getting rid of that mustache, right? I'm like, yeah.
Oh no, dude!
She gave me the illusion of choice. She didn't say,
You
I
need
can
to
say
be
yes or
the
no.
evil train conductor for Halloween. Honestly, this is so good. We missed a bit of the draft.
It's too fun to play with. Anyway, sorry, you asked me about Calico.
I'm getting Linus. Mitch, we've gotten to the picks here, and Lotos, they're going a little bit more by the tried and true. They go, okay, you don't go for the Paradox. We are going to go for the Paradox, and they get Abrams for the front line. And Abrahams, meanwhile, they secure the pocket, but you stop and look at it here. You do wonder for Abrahams, does this kind of signal that maybe they're looking for a Bebop or a Holiday a little bit later in the draft if they want a little bit more playmaking potential?
Yeah, we just do feel like in this day and age, you still need some form of initiation. Is Mo and Krill, I haven't done EU for a little bit. Are they sort of contesting that pick in this region at the moment?
A little bit less.
I would say a little bit less, but what we saw this last week in the NA event with having like a Paradox Mo together, or I guess you could do, if you're ready to creeps, Bebop.
We're banning Lash, bro. What? Why are we banning Lash?
Guys. Lash won one game in North America Trolli event, and it was Daffy of all people. It doesn't mean he's super strong right now.
That's super interesting, I think, as a ban.
I know you want to say something.
Yeah.
No, I mean, honestly, that is a little bit surprising to me, but okay, the Bebop comes in, and Jason, to me, especially after seeing what John was able to do in NA, makes a lot of sense. And this is kind of why I feel like Abrahams maybe didn't prioritize the Paradox in the beginning, because they go, hey, for playmaking, we're going to get Tass back on his Bebop magic. That was also, if you think back, one of the times where Abrahams was the scariest was when Tass was super locked in on the Bebop.
The city could use
I think it fits perfectly for him. I mean, it's Paradox or it's Bebop, and he's going to be just as impactful on either of them. I would like to see like a second bit of lockdown off the back of the Bebop. Maybe like Mo and Krill could be what they pick up coming into this, because if you can pull in Amina and you combo her before she can use Sangwine Retreat, well, she's going to be dead. Also very good against Infernus, so you can stop him from running around. I wouldn't be surprised to actually see like something.
What are we doing here? Holy, what is this?
What? Sorry,
dude.
I had to bring that back from the Trolli event.
Someone in the chat earlier was like, yo, run it down. Someone run it down and just play Spirit Viper already. I mean, to be fair, Viper did get a fair bit of a look at that previous patch CP. A number of sort of
massively changed.
Yeah.
You don't go Gun Viper anymore. You go like Spirit Viper because of the Screwjab dagger.
Yeah, and I think you go back and look at where it was. Like, I'm hesitant to say it's a deny pick, but ABL did actually play a very dominant Viper. The one time ABL played it recently in lane, and it was against Lotos that ABL went wild with the Viper. Now, maybe Lotos is just thinking back to that, going like, we want to do this to you. I'm not convinced every player would be able to do what ABL did on Viper, nor overall am I convinced that Viper is in that level of pick, but, you know, Lotos clearly thinks the same. But here, Mitch, what Jason was just talking about has come to fruition. They decide, yeah, we got the Bebop, but we want a little bit of extra lockdown. Mo and Krill comes into play with last pick.
I think that's it. That's perfect, right? You've got good utility, fantastic mobility, good ability to take the fights. I don't know if the Holiday is really necessary when you have the Paradox like locked into this setup. You might want another, sort of hard engaged tool, right? I think that having Paradox and Holiday running around, even with like, they're still good Veil Walker carriers that can still sort of cause you problems and set up some of these fights. I'm really interested in how this, how the Viper plays out, because there's bullet resist shred on the Screwjab dagger rank 2, which stacks, right? And it all stacks, frankly. So very, very interested to see how the Viper looks. We know, of course, that it's very unique in that your slide distance means you have large amounts of ammunition. You still want to do that gun damage, but we're very much in a Spirit direction. So I don't know what to expect from this particular pick. Abrahams have so much lockdown because we just glossed over the fact they have the telekinesis of Wraith as well to add to the mix, as well as a pretty reasonable gun carry and a capacitor carrier in terms of the Bebop.
Jason, I'm going to put you on the spot here because we're getting ready to get into game. You look at both of these drafts. Which draft right now do you like the most of the two teams?
I want to say Abrahams, to be honest. One thing I do like, though, about Lotos is the lasso from a combo, because you can pull Mo and your teammate back, so it acts as like a mini, oh my god,
like
rescue beam.
Counter engage. Yeah.
But no, it's got to be Abraham's for sure. Like the Mo plus the Bebop plus Wraith, like that's too much control.
Well, the stage has been set. Abraham's looking to get that matchup against Buff Enjoyers once more. Show that they have the meta on lockdown, both here tonight in the night shift and later this weekend. Lotos, though, looking to prove that they can compete on the mic for the challenging match. It's going to be Uber and Jason.
Thank you very much, CP. Moments away from jumping in now. Abrahams v Lotos. Again, Abrahams definitely have their eyes set on Buff Enjoyers this week. Would love to make a statement before our upcoming Trolli 10K on the weekend. Europe has been waiting in the wings for that particular competition, but for now, they're going to throw it out there here in the night shift. And Jason, we speculated that perhaps these two teams will be hiding strats, maybe sandbagging a little bit. But looking at this draft, I don't think that's the case at all. Viper's Venom also something we didn't touch on. You know, it scales pretty well with Spirit, both the minimum and maximum amount of damage, and it also cares about the target's missing health. So fantastic execute to finish people off. Caffeine has to get rolling. I think that's obviously, you know, a given here. I'm curious to see what this new look Viper can do out there.
Yeah, because we've only had one actual match seen it played here in the you know, professional scene. It's kind of hard to judge where she is at because she still does lack, even with these changes, a lot of survivability. Yeah, you can slide for really long distances and you're pretty fast, but one combo and you're dead. Like one telekinesis and you're dead. One hook and you're gonna die. So for Coffin in particular, you have to still play around that really well, and you don't really have a strong front line to facilitate that. At least you do have some initiates with Paradox and Holiday to give you a little bit of freedom to play. I mean, not really from the back lines, because you can't really play from the back lines. You need to be up close and personal.
Yes.
But I do kind of wonder with like Calico who can assassinate you, a Pocket who can do so, Saf on Doorman. If he carts you into a wall, he's probably going to kill you with Gun Doorman. It's going to be very hard, I feel like, to make Viper effective. And honestly, I think in this matchup, Abrahams don't really have to show anything too crazy. I think for Lotus' sake, maybe you need to start trying some new things, because honestly, you haven't beaten this team before in the night shift. Yes, you beat them in a best of one for the core number 7, but you need to be able to prove you can beat them in a best of 3 going into the matches on, well, potentially on Saturday. Yeah, on Saturday.
Yep, on Saturday. Absolutely. Great point by Geglash in the chat as well. Look for the QSR rush for the Viper into Merc Magnum. Obviously, it works really well because it's until the next reload. You just slide around. Either way, okay, ABL caught out by that one. Not ready for the parry, apparently. Back under the Guardian we go. Rayek laying it on thick on his right side of the map, because this is the lane that does feature the Infernus and Holiday. So pretty annoying. Crack shot plus the ticking damage that you get from the Infernus means that sustain is going to be pretty important for Abrahams here.
I'm actually a little bit surprised to see the way Lotus is playing out these lanes. I, for some reason, thought we would have like Holiday Paradox together in the mid lane, and then you would have like Mina and Infernus, which I believe we did have in one of our NA matches over the weekend. Because like Holiday and Paradox is so much harass, especially if you connect Carbine into a crack shot relatively easy. Plus the barrels are really easy to hit. You have double pull-ins, so you have a lot of kill potential there. But I guess they wanted to split them up here a bit to maybe help Colt in particular on the Mina have a decent beginning of the game, because you need your Mina to have a good game here if you want to be able to win this.
Yeah, you really need to get, like, you need to get fed. You really need to get her off to the races. Coughing Hero, obviously extra charge, picked up early, as we know. Goes into that rapid recharge, so more screw jab daggers, more GGs for young Coffin. Here it is together, does get poked down a little bit by it. And you can actually see, like, Lotus's lanes in general are looking pretty good, at least the outside lanes. Coffin obviously laning out alongside Pyro on this Abrams. So good pressure now, also trying to interfere with this tier 1 take. A little bit of free souls here as Coffin can back away, and the harassment is really being felt, I think, by Abrahams in that lane. Here's that Doorman, though, hitting hard towards the Mina, and that's not what you want to see. Cult removed by Saf. We know that headshot booster is pretty scary in the Doorman's hands early.
I mean, not only him, right, but to have Tass on Bebop next to you. I mean, you're saying when retreat's going to be on cooldown all the time, and if it's never... Well, if it's never off cooldown, there's definitely some good chances for some hooks to be hit and a lot of pressure to be applied. So maybe just biding their time, as you mentioned before. Lotus being very aggressive in all 3 of the lanes. They do pay the ultimate price, at least in towards middle. And Colt at one point, 7,000, going for the Imp Spirit off the bat. Going for the... Actually, yeah, it has Love Bites. Doesn't have Sanguine Retreat yet, so you have to be very careful.
That is pretty risky, I guess, against the Bebop lane not to skill that, but you obviously need to start with Love Bites and maybe Rake to help you shove a little bit more.
Well, the Rake gives you sustain too, more importantly. So if you take any harass, you get to heal off minions quite a bit, which is very, very helpful.
Yeah, and even more so off enemies if push comes to shove in that regard. Here's Saf, of course. sort of building towards that 1800. Long range picked up. Okay, so big investments already in that gun. So wants to be a real nuisance here in this lane. This looks easy from SAF's perspective. I'm telling you, it's not. They're hitting these shots definitely can be quite challenging because there's a little bit of travel time involved. What is this door? What is this door? Okay, Corbell. It's oh, come on. Pyro calls a pause. Now, in fairness, Pyro's not involved in this little engagement, but well, this is slightly awkward now. That door for a hard engage. Abrahams really want to take this fight.
I think Colt was yelling, pause to his teammate there. But also the door, keep in mind, I believe, yeah, from what I can see, Saf did level it up to level 2, which means he gets the extra barrier. So if when you go through the door the first time, you get the barrier, which means you can be even more aggressive and really take favorable trades when it comes to this fight in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he doesn't have level 2 door yet. Never mind.
Not yet. Yeah, I think he just...
Oh, he does have it.
He does.
It's just the UI bugging out.
Yeah, normally there would be a rim around that. So Corbell, great poke. Obviously, the gun of Doorman, very effective. I think laning is a little bit of a menace in general. And the baggage card is not something you want to run into, especially if it's combo. Look at these hits, like just chunking for like 120 each time.
It's got nothing to sneer damage in the game per bullet. Yeah, what I remember.
Okay, a little bit scary here for our Infernus. Arzo looking to try and back away here. ABL and Jam side holding with the door. Lotus really getting aggressive, trying to interfere with a lot of these sort of creep camp takes on that right side of the map. Don't want to allow Abrahams to pick up those supplementary souls as these waves have been getting shoved into them. Also not being able to deny any of those away as you've seen Lotus back away, looking like they're taking a camp. Dangerous here though. My goodness. Oh goodness, Sai. Colt rather caught out by the uppercut of Taz. So this mid lane setup for Abrahams has definitely been their best look so far, and now they're in deep trouble. Sai, bye. Enjoy the hotel, my friend. Gonna take that big hit of damage coming on out, and Corbell will finish the job, Jason.
Yeah, and you're seeing like the power of this lane and how deadly it can be. That's why I kind of wanted to see like a Holiday Paradox together. They're gonna have a little bit more survivability against us with the jump pads. Speaking of Holiday coming in from the backside, but again, the door. So immediately getting Saf out of trouble here, but the last one comes through and he connects onto this Mitch.
This is a big investment. Saf, they're going to be brought down by the Rake. So Colt does get that pick off. There is a Hyper Beam. It's pretty hard to connect in this lane, especially with all of the occlusion of the environment. I like the Doorman's door set up to try and get you away. Speaking of escapes, Jamside has one on this Wraith, but it's very, very low. Maybe just over pushing a little bit now. Jamside eventually falling, but good Guardian damage at least done by Abrahams here, despite a bit of an unfavorable trade-off. Pyro, though, down to Saint. Important pick off here for the Moon Krill.
I am also curious, ABL, did he go first by Majestic Leap so he can get around the map? I'm not sure if he's felt confident enough to do so. Oh my god, another hook's gonna land.
No, the cart!
And the cart as well to knock him back. It's not gonna matter. The bomb's not kill you. I know, he used the single one to actually get away from the bomb damage, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, you want to dodge away, but you have to use that probably the second Sanguine dash to avoid the bomb damage. Either way, I mean, this Doorman lane is scary. Saf is putting a lot of pressure down, being able to circumvent that Guardian. Here's Saint, though, head to head with Pyro and Coffeen. Gonna give it ABL, of course, on his pocket, and you got your answer, Jason. It is a pretty early Majestic Leap.
And the reason I bring that up is he likes to be very active around the map. They definitely look for a very early Guardian to free him up to farm up as much jungle as possible, and then you can leave Jamside here to defend. I think we saw him actually be one of the first people in Night Shift to go for a Majestic Leap as one of his very, very first items.
Oh, that was the Viper roll there on Saint. Looks like it bought a little bit of room for an escape for Coffeen, but it's going to be tough now. Here comes the slam. Pyro looking to engage. Saint's still healthy. Shoulder charge, good connection. Saint locked down for an extended period of time, but Coffeen's already too low to get involved. Leap forward there for together misses, but it's pretty fevered back and forth trading now. Coffeen's just trying to get topped back on up as quickly as possible here, and that's tough. That poke damage is real.
Yeah, you really have to respect it. And again, like as a Viper as well, you're relatively squishy. You can see on the HP pool here. You have to be very close to do the damage.
Okay, telekinesis here. Corbell, big damage. Not enough to secure the kill. There was enough of a distance gain before the telekinesis hit came through. Will, so annoying. That baggage cart continuing to come through. All right, hotel guest going to be used straight away. Now, how do you follow up on this? It's going to be Arzo just not bothering to try and get out. Oh, I love this emerging inside concussive combustion. Maybe to try and dissuade anyone from getting too close, but will end up going down across the map. And again, it's just Abraham's laying it on thick. They're going to have a lot of Guardian damage in this exchange.
Help me kill the detective.
You know, one thing we also haven't talked about when it comes to Doorman that ZP brought up during the Trolli event was up against League in particular when he was playing Ivy. is it's such a good way as well of just taking out the enemy carry from the game for a period of time, so you can kill other people and not have to worry about them. Even experimented with like the potential refresher Doorman ultimate, so you keep them out for a very long time. You don't have to deal with them. And right now, the combo's going to come through. Petrifying Bola comes through to actually stop Saint's combo, and the whole team's here.
Yeah, Rayek's taking far more damage than they would have expected. The bomb takes him out in the end. Taz to the rescue. I'm not sure if Lotus had accounted for the Bebop just turning up in this fashion. There's a rotate coming across the map as well. Saf is actually headed towards the right side. There's 3 Abraham's players here, though, on the left. It's very dangerous for Pyro to linger, and they're probably aware of it. That's the Guardian down on the right. Here's the paradoxical swap catching on to ABL. He doesn't have his cloak available, so he's going to instead pop that affliction, try and get away. Good damage here being put down onto Arso, but there needs to be a follow-up, someone else to add. And it looks like Arso wasn't even affected by the affliction, so he's able to come in as a third party and pick up that elimination.
Oh, we get third party. Side gets in directly behind Jam side. Connect Carbine goes off as well. No paradoxical swap and no backup to be seen. So just going to back away either way. And we will see a Guardian take in the mid lane here. The first for Lotos.
Jeez,
though Colt's being chased pretty hard here.
Yeah, 140, like coming in for the Doorman straight away. Sanguine Retreat used instantly by Colt. Does not want to fight, but this gives so much priority in mid for a shove. Abrahams can push this forward now. And we have the Pyro very, very low. Dangerous situation to be that Calico damage is really starting to add up. Siphon Life is not going to be enough to keep you standing. And so Pyro falls on the left. More pressure surely, but there's Viper involved, and Rayak actually makes a rotate over towards his lane, and it doesn't seem to bother together. Still wants to come forward with the leap. No Guardian here, but now he can take the Sinner away. They got to fight for this, Jason.
I mean, I think you kind of can if you're Lotos. It's not really worth it for Sinners. Petrifying Bola comes in. It does catch up together, but where's the follow-up?
I mean, you just don't feel like you can. Also, you're at 2.5k souls. You probably don't have a power spike. You're not favored in that regard. Jam side down, there were a lot of Lotus players on this right-hand side of the map. Hotel Guest is at the ready, and you can see this push up from Abrahams. They're contesting yet another set of Sinners. So as soon as we get past that 8-minute mark, that positive lane prio for Abrahams is allowing them to dig a bit deeper into the Lotus jungle and get that soul lead.
I think one of the biggest micro, I guess it's technically micro changes we saw from the event this last weekend was the emphasis on these Sinner sacrifices and denying them away from your opponents.
Yep.
Looking at Sneaky Golem, AVG in particular, on one of his games on Yamato, he literally was just at Sinners almost the entire game, taking them away and stacking up those buffs. And right now, Saint, he has no Warp Stone, though he's going to be binded up next. Was looking for a combo catch, but even just trying to pick up the urn to move it across the map here.
It's so risky for Coffin to be playing solo in this lane.
Oh,
yep, there it is. Combo. Easy done. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you see Bebop and you see Mo and Cool, you know they're there. Like, you know, you can die from extremely long distance. I think they pinged out on that walker, and I think at least Abrahams are going to shove this, but I think the urn possibility is attractive to them, but they don't have good positioning on the right side around the urn turn-in location. They need to fight for that first. Here's ABL, though, wants to try and work this walker. I think that's fine. You keep Lotos busy, Jason, on the right-hand side of the map. Lose your Guardian. Trade a walker might well be worth it.
Oh, 100%. And the thing is, you might even be able to run the urn on top of this. They're going to get this walker for free. Eventually, Coffin's going to come back in, but you really can't defend against the 2 players with Tass and ABL there. In the meantime, as you're mentioning, Lotus have gone for a push on the right-hand side. The sidesplit is back. Impact connects onto together.
Ridiculous, taking no damage, bro. Like 0. That is crazy. In the 1v3, Return of Shadows was there. Healing Right can't be used. Spirit Lasso surely is going to be curtains now for this Calico. Yeah, I mean, you've done well. You've defended the walker. You're going to see now a convergence of Abraham's players towards this side of the map, but they lose Jam side and together. But they keep the walker alive, right? Walker for Guardian. You take the trade. You have earned possession on the right. Zipline boost could get you back into the fight pretty quickly. Here's a hook. Nox Nostra has to be used now by Colt. Not really much damage to speak of, though. And now that Urn might head towards a turn-in location, so I think you're going to have to double back if you're Arzo here and defend this, but Lotus aren't in position.
Yeah, they're not going to defend the urn. It's going to be a free turn instead. Their idea is let's push the left lane Guardian so we get a flex slot, which is what they're something they're desperately going to need, and they're going to get it for sure, though it might cost them a couple of people here, especially that hook landing directly onto Pyro.
Pyro has pretty limited defensive items, honestly, to lean on. There's a reactive barrier there, which does, of course, help against the Bebop. Whoa! What is that? Return to Shadows for together, but can't maintain the jump pad momentum. But there's a right side walker being scrutinized now by Lotus. They are saying, by Abraham, sorry. They're saying, if you want to take our Guardians, we're going to trade up, and we're going to get these walkers away from you, thereby extending our sphere of influence deeper and deeper into your jungle. And Lotus are like a couple beats behind on a lot of this, right? They're just coming back off buys or off respawns. They're going to have to defend that right side because there is a big extension for Abrahams deep into that part of the map.
And you're seeing also why Dorman can be very good beyond the fact of the door, as the speaking of him gets caught out here and he will fall, is the doors act very similar to like the way we used to see Spectral Assistant being used for Sinclair, because you can pop it really far behind you, go run up, get free damage on the walker, and then pop it back. Very similar with the doors, so you can use that even with your teammates for safety. We might see him catch yet again here onto Pyro.
Okay, Plague of Frogs. Pyro has been, he's been getting caught out on a number of these occasions, right? This is Abraham's just responding to the punish of the overextension on that right side of the map, but there's no walker to play for here, so it's very much about these camps, but we're not far enough into the game to be able to easily pick off those tier 3s. If you got cult of sacrifices, you nab one of them, you sort of get the heck out of there. I like that. Wishful thinking from Taz. No connection now, though. Dangerous for Cult. And no Sanguine Retreat available, so 500 HP is going to have to be enough, but that Barrows doesn't quite catch on. Into the rescue comes Sai. So now the Paradox, at least here with the Mina, there's a player advantage now for Lotos. They can definitely exercise this, and together once again just falls into the net. Lotus have been punishing Abraham's desire, I think, to try and close this game out or really punish deep into the jungle. But again, this right side walk is getting looked at. It's push and pull stuff as Abrahams are the ones asking the questions consistently of Lotus across the map. And that pickoff is pretty big. Arzo out of the game. That's the Infernus now no longer able to intervene. And it's another walker picked up for the Amber side.
I mean, it seems to be the game plan for Abrahams. They'll give up one player, but they'll get a walker from you. And that's a trade you'll take any day of the week, though. We do see a walker be pushed on the left-hand side. Even Saint coming in from behind here to potentially alleviate this pressure. Even Task coming in from base. There's a real chance they could get a catcher if they want to go for a chase on this.
Yeah, okay, Saint actually does not get punished for this. Lotus aren't ready to go for him. Okay, maybe now. Slam doesn't quite connect, though. Looks like the Warp Stone was able to get Saint away. Now back to safety. Even uppercut backwards by Taz just to make sure he was safe. Credit there, Jason, to Together, who was able to defend that walker against like 3 players. And now Lotus are in an awkward spot. Being encircled on this left side jungle, Together's looking for an opportunity to engage. Those gloom bombs hit, and the return to shadows isn't even needed.
And you cannot forget about how fast Calico can be to get around the map. I mean, honestly, we're at the point right now, 15 minutes in, where we realistically could see a bad fight for Lotos turn into a mid-boss for Abrahams, as they get themselves both buffs on the right and left-hand side, and the urn is up. This is where it goes from bad to worse here for Lotus. I mean, not down too bad in souls, but if they keep getting picks like this and catching people off guard, there's no chance for Arzo to become a threat on Infernus. He's only at 14,000 souls. I mean, Tass, who isn't even supposed to be the carry on the other side, is at 18k.
Right, I mean, Pyro also does not have the farm priority to be remotely tanky here, Jason. So Lotus do not have a durable team composition at all. Here comes Coffee now. Bowler to start the fight. Uppercut instantly, though, able to avoid much of this pressure. But Pyro's caught in the middle, and the Abrahams is going to struggle to stay alive. Tanky as he is inherently in our 1 versus 2, left alone by Coffee, who realizes he's likely to lose his own life by trying to get involved in this fight. So another ugly engagement picked up, and this urn should be chilling. Heading over towards that top left side of the map here. It looks like ABL's been pretty comfortable defending this walker. And now there's going to be reinforcements. Dangerous here for Cult. Damage onto South. The rake was fine, but at best it's a trade. And that urn is getting turned in, Jason.
It's getting turned in for free, too. I mean, they got 2 kills. They lost 1, and they get an urn turn off the back of that. And ABL gets a kill on Will. You know what? Mid-boss, it's right there to be taken for them, honestly, if they wanted to go for it. I think they should have the damage to pull it off, but instead they're going to be looking for themselves a Ray to be taken. And I can already see Together rotate on the map to maybe catch him out. But this is some good stuff from Abrahams, to be honest. They're rotating well, they're playing well, and ABL, considering Mina's going to be one of like the strongest counters to him in this game, he's doing a great job of just mostly staying alive and keeping his farm up. That Nox Nostra, it's a free silence wave for you up against ABL, and Pocket is already very susceptible to spirit damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's negative spirit resist to start the game, right? If that doesn't make it obvious to you, I don't know what will. So 2 walkers down, both the outside ones for Lotos. This jungle access for Abrahams at unprecedented levels will allow them to continue to extend their lead, even up against that comeback mechanic that Lotos will be experiencing. If they go even on souls, of course, they'll be getting that little extra. Right, slowing Hex catches on pretty much straight away. Not great for Jam's side, but he's going to respond with a telekinesis of his own. Drop down. Bro has a bag, so needs to be pretty careful. Bit of a stoush happening upstairs, though, now, as we do see that wall thrown up. It's like a paradoxical swap was employed amidst that. Taz is hunting. No. Oh, okay. Turns out the fight comes to you sometimes. Big damage from up here. No hook required. Cult simply ceased to exist. And again, we have that capacitor in Taz's hands. It's a huge power spike, and everyone's getting hooked up and booked.
I believe as well, the capacitor, when you see the Sanguine Retreat used once and you hook Mina from that, you capacitor her so she can't use the second charge of it, and it's almost a guarantee, or it should be ideally a guaranteed kill, since you don't have the safety net of the second escape. honestly, Abrahams, as we saw what Jam said, they're initially getting caught out. They do such a great job of rotating in to reinforce anyone who's been caught initially. And that player in particular does such a great job of just staying alive long enough for that to happen as a flying fist comes in from the side, picking up Pyro.
And together just can't be killed here. 1,000 health, also pretty tanky, and has Return to Shadows active. So Lotus are getting to the point in the game where their carries are just not farmed enough here. And Taz is starting to get pretty out of control in terms of the itemization. Be together back and on away here. Parry came in, not needed at the end. Pyro is trying to be the initiator, but frankly, is just getting blown to smithereens every time he tries to step up. Once again, Abrams is out of the game. Together, big chilling. Door used, back to mid, healing right popped, and now that mid walker is going to be looked at.
If you want to have an idea of how confident Abrahams feels right now, look at what Sap picked up recently. Glass Cannon. I find that a little bit of a BM buy, to be honest, but when you're ahead this far, it makes sense.
Well, you saw the counterspell there, used a little bit early for Azo, as the hotel guest simply came out later. So they take that big hit of damage as they come out. Everyone's waiting. And yeah, this is starting to get out of hand pretty quickly, folks. A pretty large soul lead to contend with. And now the mid boss going to be taken here easily. This should guarantee that you can convert into a mid walker now. Those buffs, of course, going to be crucial. You'll have all of those rejuve credits. There's no contesting this for Lotus. They're hoping for something on the left-hand side of the map. Now, can Jamside hold them at bay with 21k souls? I think it's still... He's putting question marks in the chat. He's like, why are you here? We took mid boss. What is going on? The Dero shift going to be used. There will be the damage. Oh, no, excuse me. No, that's a rejuve buff being expended as Jamside picks himself back up. And Lotus put themselves in a pretty risky position on the map. Give up mid boss to just exhaust one rejuve credit, Jason. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, I think to be fair, they were maybe looking for the walker take, so you get something out of this objective being secured out of Abrahams, and you get yourself a flex slot more importantly, because they are at 102,000 souls with only one flex slot unlocked. So they're definitely being hindered in their economy, or at least in their items, because they don't have these slots available to actually, pick up some things. But it's really tough times. I mean, they're down 32,000 souls now. They've really been unable to get any of these buffs for the last, I want to say, like 10 minutes. And I mean, a survival buff for Saint, like, I think it's going to come down to maybe just like 1-2 more fights at this rate.
We have the Merc Magnum online. Tesla bullets also in effect for Jamside. So not only does he have that lockdown potential, he's also hit. What? Bro, he's moving so fast. Veil Walker on Krill, man, his stats wrong. Okay. What's ABL looking for here? Just to shove this lane in if at all possible. Does know he's going to get some attention now. But what really can Rhea do about this? We're about to find out. Lasso connects. And we are going for a bit of a ride now. Silence Wave also affecting the pocket. ABL will try and escape here. Has the satchel. Okay, that's going to be another rejuve credit burned now. Decent little pick here for Lotos, but there's about to be a fight, and I think they know it. Going to try and not overstay. I don't think Arz is going to have the option to get out. That's 40 seconds out of the game for the Infernus, and a earn turn in about to happen. His Walker presence is good. Good pressure from Lotus here, but they're losing out, of course, in these incremental value trades, and they're going to have to fight for their lives in a couple moments.
I mean, they might get the Walker, but they're going to lose all three players here, which allows Abraham just go for the full-on push.
Please get the Walker.
Stunned up by the Walker, and they finally get it.
Now, if you're only able to pyro for this, might be considered worth it. Sai's going to have to be very slippery to get out of this one, and I hear the telekinesis go off, so it's very likely the Paradox is currently being held aloft and punished. Yep, well, they are down. Not ideal here for Sai, and that's that mid walker guaranteed to be picked up. So slowly Lotus are, pressuring these rejuve buffs down. There's only one left, but still 90 seconds of that for Abrahams to turn this into a soul lead. Manifest that statistical advantage into one of a fiscal nature, and that is a disgusting hook that comes in with a combo follow-up, and Arzo is back in spawn again.
I think I have to disagree with something you said about Pyro getting that Walker, about it being worth it. He didn't say worth it in chat, so I don't know if it actually was worth it. You kind of have to say it in chat for it to be true.
Otherwise, the assumption is that it was in fact not worth it.
Exactly.
If you don't say GG, it was in fact BG.
Exactly. Well, we do see the push coming out of Abrahams here into the base. The first shrine will fall, the second in just a few seconds. And honestly, Lotus are trying to go for a last-second fight here. I saw Pyro charge straight through the entire team as the Spirit Lasso has connected. But do they have the damage? And that's something they're lacking.
Bro, what was that? The Night Shift logo? That was great. I don't know what caused that logo, but I'm here for it. Okay.
It's a scorn, my dude. Whenever Mo and Krill scorns, you get a Night Shift logo on the ground.
Oh, man, that's so base. What a cool skin. Okay. back to the action here. Coffin already had made use of that bowler earlier on, so now basically on the backslide, literally and figuratively, in towards spawn. Here comes the push nicely from Together, secures that elimination. Now only 4 players up here for Lotos, and you see Coffin really trying to do something, but the Viper just hasn't really had the time to get online, and Hyper Beam is sizzling over the patron pit. Now, of course, that'll be that. Abraham's very decidedly advancing to our best of 3 money match.
Yeah, honestly, Abraham's look just as good as they ever have. They didn't really seem to struggle too much. I mean, I think in the beginning of the game, you did point out they were pushed back towards their own Guardians for the first few minutes, but in particular mid lane with the Doorman Bebop combo, once they got 1 kill, it was just hold W and get more kills thereafter that. Abraham's looking as good as ever, and Lotos, I still kind of worry for them going into the event this weekend, that they really need to show something different if they want to be able to take down the likes of Abraham's in their group.
Abraham's coming in the EU Challenger match with a new fresh look, and that fresh look being the rumors that we heard coming in. Doorman is back and in action, and to me, watching from the sidelines here, Jason, what really looked interesting to me was the part that you got the return of the Bebop Doorman lane, which not only has good poke damage, but dealing with a hook character in any sort of game is a little bit problematic in and of itself. But then you add in doors for extra angles of attack, more ways of getting in. It just felt like a nightmare for Lotos to deal with.
Yeah, and you're talking about hooks being problematic as a mechanic in most games. Unless you're playing League of Legends against Mitch and he's on Blitzcrank and any other team, then you don't have to worry about hooks at all. But it's very difficult to deal with, especially when you do have
10 years ago. Like, let it go.
Okay,
I mean, 12 years ago. Let it go.
Mitch, I want you to tell me any highlight here that reminds you of Jason just eating dirt in your experience. He got cheap shot at you, you get cheap shot at him.
Oh, dude, I don't even know. Jason's always been better at video games than me. I accept that, right? It's just not a thing.
I'll tell you what, though, ZP, Mitch has always been better at casting than me. And he's also been better at farting as well, because his farts are
listen, bro, that diet did work for me. Okay? That's all I'm trying to say.
It did. But no, like you're very right. Like the fact is, like Bebop, he's very frustrating to deal with. But I feel like when you get an insanely good player on Bebop, that frustration becomes even more exponential in having to deal with it. 'Cause like these hooks here in this specific, if I get my words out, moment, this hook on a Viper, like a normal Bebop wouldn't hit those, but TAS does, and that Viper doesn't get away when you're playing against TAS on Bebop.
Reactive barrier does nothing, not a thing. It's just you're just so far behind, bro. Is again, capacity is a really powerful item, right? Just like denying a lot of those non-ultimate buffs and really allowing you to lock someone down is very hard to say. Someone, obviously, we talked about obviously being an anti-cube measure, but there's so much more to it than that. When the Bebop starts to run away with the game and you're getting resets on your hooks when you're hitting the uppercuts, you've skilled enough into it. Like, you can just do this over and over and over again. Talk about a snowbally character. And I'm glad that we ZP questioned in the draft if we'd see the Mo and Krill, because it's just not as popular a pick in this region, but it's just a match made in heaven for the Doorman, the Bebop, and the Mo. Like, Hotel Guest is amazing. The combo, obviously, is just a huge part of that lockdown setup. So, the draft, I think, from Abraham's was really good. There's a really defined game plan here.
Mitch, we've talked a bit now about what was going well for Abraham's, and we will talk more about that in a moment. But, bouncing the scales a little bit here, it was somewhat close into the early and mid game before things really broke away. What did you see out of Lotos as working well? Because I feel like Lotos always does this, where they'll look good for a period of time before the wheels fall off the cart. And, what worked for them here before it didn't?
Yeah, I honestly thought some of their early lane aggression was quite good, right? I think that Rayx Holiday as well, a couple of lassos that were pretty important. I think if you're going to draft that Paradox and Holiday, you've got to be punishing misposition. You've got to be running around the map. So I think that they had an edge that they could have exploited there, but as soon as there was grouping, as soon as you really see the power of the mid lane setup, when TAS and Saf rather are able just to head outward to those lanes and assist, it all starts to fall apart. So I like what we saw. I don't think CP we really got to see the best of the Viper, but a couple of those petrifying bowlers were pretty good. They were punishing the aggressive overextensions into their side of the map by Abraham's. It's just when they did so, they couldn't trade that up into an objective. They were always getting a Guardian for a Walker because they were just that step behind heading into the mid game. And unfortunately, the hole just got deeper for them.
Jason, as we were looking at here, we kind of went through some of the things that went well for Lotos and things that didn't go well for Lotos. What you saw from Abraham's here, obviously the next match going to be coming up is Abraham's taking on Buff Enjoyers once more. Do you think if Abraham's gets the Bebop that they can take it to Buff Enjoyers with this sort of comp?
Just Bebop, no. I think the Mo was such an important factor for this Bebop working as well, beyond the fact of these hooks. Honestly, if we're talking about like Kelvin needing reworks, I think Mo needs a rework because his ultimate, in this kind of stage of the game, it's almost like a guarantee kill, especially in that mid game. We talk about Hayes having a power spike in mid game. Mo for sure has that power spike, especially when you get like Veil Walker and you get, as Mitch pointed out, how fast you can move with the burrow. If you catch one with a warp stone, 99% chance that they're going to die. So I feel like having just the hook alone isn't strong enough. Having some sort of lockdown to follow up with, like the Mo and Krill, which we saw Melee Creeps use to great success just this last weekend, is a really key point to the success of how they come together.
Yeah. Like you can't reactive barrier or debuff reduce. Like you can't really itemize against it enough. Like you can reduce the duration, I guess, but also the Mongrel can invest in increasing the duration of the ability, which he always does because it's just you buy a superior duration for God's sake. So yeah, it feels like as a point and click ability, it's very powerful, bro. Yo, Taz the 10, 0, and 16. That's pretty messed up. That is some good gaming. I'm not gonna lie. Also, notice I would say like the farm priority here, like Saf getting a heck of a lot of those neutrals under the belt. Jamside also was heading to a pretty deterministically terrifying late game. Surge of Power, Merc, Magnum in the inventory. Yeah, he was going to be blowing people up.
Jason, as I look at the stats here, it's kind of interesting to me just how much Wraith is still siloed into late game, because you look at Jamside, this was clearly hey, if the game goes to actually 30 minutes, Jamside, you will be a key part of our team fight. Otherwise, though, you're just going to be in the jungle hitting stuff the entire time. Let us take care of it. When you look at the overall damage stats here, you got a Wraith at 13k. You know, just it was prepared for late game, Jason.
It makes sense, though, I think, in the aspect of a MOBA. I think you look at like League of Legends. I can't talk about Dota because I've never really played or casted Dota, but you always have those AD carries who come online later into the game, and it's about like your spirit heroes or your AP heroes in League's case that carry the game in towards that late game stage. I do like how they kind of set themselves up for, if we have to go to late game, we still have Jamside in the back pocket, but they didn't need it in this match. And I kind of wish it didn't take that long for Mouse One heroes to come online, but it does kind of make sense when comparing it to any other MOBA out there.
Well, we've compiled the data. We have the answer. The votes are in. MVP for our challenging match. Mitch, it's got to be TAS, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, the guy's kind of insane. I also love, like, yeah, it's like a pretty early, like, well, not early. I mean, it's in order, but the Coltac pickup there just times really nicely with this Bebop just pushing into enemy territory. Getting that buffer is huge. And, you know, we know that Capacitor is so good. If you're ahead and your opponents don't have any, like, effect mitigation or any ways to, like, stop themselves getting absolutely owned by being hooked out, it's so hard to do anything about this. Let the battle vest like pick up pretty much straight away. You want to be aggressive, you want to be high health in that lane. The combo here with the Mo and Krill, it's like PB&J, works perfectly, and that's only after you get to leave the lane, right? Tass heads over to the left hand side of the map and constantly just creates these unwinnable scenarios for Lotos that almost always results in like big damage on an objective or its entire loss, right? This position also is kind of messed up. This hook coming out on the Viper, so stuff dreams are made of, bro. Very, very scary on the Bebop.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing as well in this clip we just had, is that Coffin, you talked about the petrifying bolas for at least 15 minutes of the game, or for a very long time, after maybe like the 12-minute mark, he was being forced to use them defensively every single time, which if you're trying to counter combo, that's a good way to do it if you're not the one being locked down. But they never got to the point for it to ever be super effective. They got picked off left and right, partially due to TAS and partially due to Saint, and they didn't really have opportunity to force these team fights that might have given them the chance.
Well, you take a look at the bracket. We are here at a result we've seen many times before. Buff Enjoyers versus Abrahams. Number 1 and number 2 of EU going to be facing off soon on the broadcast, but also, you know, a little bit preview of what's going on in the NA side of things later on today. Melee Creeps looking to complete their victory circuit here, Jason. They took down the Trolli NA bracket this last weekend, but beating Sneaky Golem twice in a row may be difficult, and they still have to get through Kwai Crew first.
Bro, they did it undefeated. And honestly, I mean, ZP, feel free to agree or to disagree with me here, but that series versus Sneaky Golem didn't even look like they were truly challenged. Like, they looked like they had control for the most of the game, if not the entire game. I think they've really shown that the time they've been putting in has been paying off. And honestly, I'm worried for any team that has to play against them tonight.
You know, though, I do think the net takeaway from Sneaky Golem there is going to be just don't give up the Bebop. I think, especially after what we just saw here in the last match, Bebop almost feels like he's back in the spot of he's going to take over your games if you don't do something about him. And to me is still one of the heroes with some of the greatest variants in the game, where when a Bebop is on Mitch, it just feels like the other team is at his mercy.
I mean, you can see what he does when he gets ahead, right? Especially now with the itemization paths available to him and how they really contribute to him snowballing the game away. Just to buying a reactive barrier in lane is not really enough to deal with him. You need to have that same, I don't know, like the same proactivity across the map to create opportunities away from the Bebop, find ways to stop him from being relevant. But that's hard to do against a good Bebop player.
Alrighty, well, the challenging match is over, but the money match is yet to begin. Abrahams taking on Buff Enjoyers. Is this going to be the week that they shake up Europe, or will Buff Enjoyers remain on top? Stay with us. We'll be back soon.